Marvin, better known around the apartment complex as Grandpa Zoom, was famous for zipping around on his stand-up e-scooter. The wind in his hair, cardigan flapping like a superhero cape, life was good. But one problem kept nagging at him. There was no good way to bring home groceries. A gallon of milk and a loaf of bread were manageable, but last week's incident with the sack of oranges had been, well, a wobbly crash waiting to happen. Scrolling the local online trader one evening, Marvin spotted it. Like new electric motorized shopping cart scooter, excellent condition, excellent battery life, $100 each. And then he saw the magic words, $50. Two were available, and they came with wire baskets big enough to hold half a pantry. The next morning, Marvin was the proud owner of one. He set out immediately for the grocery store, humming with anticipation. Unfortunately, the store manager spotted him long before he reached the building, driving up the street at a stately put-put. To her, it looked exactly like one of the store's scooters, and she jumped to a very specific conclusion. He must have taken it home and was now returning it. By the time Marvin rolled through the automatic doors, she was already marching toward him like a traffic cop with a mission. "Sir," she barked, "store scooters are for shopping inside the store only. You cannot take them home with you." "This is my scooter," Marvin said, smiling politely. "Sir, all store scooters look the same," she said, eyes narrowing. "You can't just keep them overnight and bring them back when you're ready." Marvin tried to explain, but she was already circling the scooter like a hawk inspecting prey. Shoppers slowed down to watch. One teenager whispered, "Busted." Marvin decided enough was enough. Without raising his voice, he said, "Man, I believe we're done here," and drove out the door at the same steady put-put. A short time later, back at the apartment complex, Cheryl, the apartment manager who had tried to stop Marvin's first e-scooter adventures, was watching him unload his groceries when a police cruiser pulled up. Out stepped two officers, one holding a clipboard. Cheryl was beside herself with glee. What could that old coot have done now, she asked herself. Probably stole that grocery scooter. "Sir, we had a report of a stolen motorized shopping cart," the taller officer began. Marvin led the officers into his apartment and simply reached inside his top desk drawer, pulled out a folded printout from Facebook Marketplace, and handed it over. "Bought it yesterday. $50, still has the sticker on it." The officers inspected it, nodded, and with a hint of a smile, one said, "Well, sir, we'll let the store know. Enjoy your ride." Not one to waste a good story, Marvin decided to make his scooter impossible to mistake for store property ever again. He painted it a bright canary yellow, added a tall fiberglass pole, and mounted a flag that fluttered like a victory banner. A week later, Earl from 3B rolled into the parking lot on the other $50 scooter. Earl painted his scooter hot pink, because that was the only color paint he had without buying more. Earl may have had lots of money, but he was the world's tightest penny pincher. Before long, Marvin and Earl were staging races through the complex's winding walkways, baskets rattling, flags flapping. The other apartment residents labeled the daily grocery scooter race the Pink and Yellow 500 and took up bets on the day's winner. It wasn't long before the crowds at the Pink and Yellow 500 were larger than Cheryl's bingo night. Cheryl was beside herself. She wanted to outlaw scooter races of any kind, but the bylaws said nothing about low-speed, grocery basket-equipped models. Once again, Marvin had found a loophole, and this time, he had a partner in crime. And so, to the sound of twin put-puts, Marvin and Earl became the reigning champions of the slowest and most entertaining races in town. Sometimes Marvin won, and sometimes Earl did, though everyone knew Earl only won when he cheated.